Hello friends, welcome once again to Rick's Garage. As you may or may not be aware, I have not been doing many repairs lately. This is due to the COVID-19 virus. My doctor says I'm at high risk and I need to shelter in place. So the few repairs I have been doing are just for immediate family members. In the meantime, I thought it might be fun to review some of the tools I have here in my garage. Maybe giving some of you who are setting up your garage some ideas of what tools you should buy, what you need to have. So I hope you find this interesting. What you see on my bench are some of the tools I use for working on exhaust systems. I'm sure most all of you have tried to change a muffler at one time or another, and I thought that some of these tools you might find of interest. The first thing I want to talk about, if you're going to be working underneath the car, is to safely raise the vehicle. Now you'll notice I have two jacks. I actually own 4 of these jacks. I like them so much. These are the Harbor Freight 3-ton Daytona jacks. I like to buy my jacks in pairs so you can raise one end of the vehicle evenly. I think that's quite important. For the money, these are the best jacks you can buy in my mind. The other thing is I recommend quality jack stands of at least 6 tons or better. And the last thing is wheel chucks. If you're only going to raise one end of the vehicle, you want to chuck the wheels that are on the ground. Now, if you're going to raise the vehicle completely off the ground, then obviously the wheel chucks aren't going to do you any good. So in the absence of a lift, which most of us do-it-yourself guys don't have access to, that should be your biggest concern, is safely raising the car on a good level surface with reliable equipment. Now there's a big difference between working on a car with the wheels off and working on a car with the wheels on. Obviously it's a lot safer working under the car with the wheels on. If jack fails or a jack stand fails, with the wheels on the car, you're not going to get totally crushed. You might get pinned, but you're not going to get totally crushed. So that brings me to the point that you should never work under a car alone in your garage. Always have somebody with you. So if the unthinkable happens, at least you got somebody that can go for help or try to help you. Now in my garage, if I'm going to do any kind of work like that underneath the car, I use a product called My Lift Stands. They're a little bit pricey, but for my money they're the safest way to work under a car with the absence of a lift. At the end of this video, I'll post a link to a review I did of My Lift Stands. Now, if you do indeed have access to a set of torches, you want to make sure that you have a set of welding gloves and the appropriate dark glasses. This is a set of dark goggles made especially for acetylene torches. Now, if you do indeed decide to obtain a set of torches or have access to a set of torches, it goes without saying that you should have a ABC type fire extinguisher. Actually, I think it's a good idea to have one of these fire extinguishers in your garage regardless of what you're doing. Now, sometimes when you're under a car using your torches, you'll set a little grommet on fire, or a piece of insulation will start to burn a little bit. It's not enough to pull out the whole fire extinguisher. So what I do when I'm under the car, I keep a little spray bottle of water with me. You might want to cool something off quickly, or if you start a little piece of some kind of insulation or something with a small flame, you can just quickly put it out with a little squirt bottle rather than pulling out your whole fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher is for something that's pretty major. Now the last thing I want to talk about as far as safety goes is eye shields and goggles. Very, very important. You're going to be chiseling things, banging on things, cutting things. You need to protect your eyes. I was on the safety committee at my shop for more than 20 years. We were not even allowed in the building without safety glasses on. Now, one tool that would really come in handy for cutting a pipe is a sawzall with a steel blade on it. These things will cut through an exhaust system like butter. Here you see a nice tool that's made specifically for cutting exhaust pipes. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 blades. You just simply work it back and forth, tightening it down, and it'll do a nice clean job of cutting off your exhaust pipe. Another nice couple of tools for cutting exhaust systems and bolts and things is a air-powered die grinder with a cutoff blade. Make sure you keep your safety guard on there, and make sure you actually wear the safety glasses when you're using that. The other thing is a little bit smaller. It's a Dremel with a cutoff blade. This can get into tighter spots. This is excellent for cutting off a nut that is frozen and you can't get off. Now the die grinder I just showed you requires an air compressor. If you're serious about doing any kind of automotive work, you must have an air compressor. Now if you do indeed have an air compressor, this air hammer is indispensable for automotive work. And I've got two real handy attachments. Once you've cut a pipe, you might wind up with a pipe inside a pipe. This very attachment here is made to cut an inside pipe. You just cut right along, and this edge here will split the inside pipe so you can collapse it and get it out. Now if it's the outside pipe you wish to cut, then this attachment is very nice for cutting and splitting the outside pipe. So those are two real nice attachments to have if you do indeed have access to an air compressor and have an air hammer. And as always, when you're using one of these, make sure you have your safety glasses. Now, if you're going to do any kind of exhaust work, this is a very handy little kit to have. I purchased it on eBay. I do not remember what I paid for it, but I would not be without it. When you finish cutting off the pieces of exhaust that you want to discard, whether it be the muffler or a pipe or whatever, and you want to assemble the new piece onto the existing pieces, the pipes get distorted. They've had clamps on them, so sometimes they're squeezed a little bit, and sometimes they've got, different little bits of damage to them, and you've got to get them round again. So what you do is you take one of these expanders, they call them, slip your pipe over it, and then turn it. And you turn it as far as you can. Now these are not powerful enough to actually expand the pipe. What we're trying to do with this is to return the pipe to its original shape. So you extend it as tight as you possibly can. Then you take a flat dolly hammer and you go around tapping it. Then you will expand it a little more, go around tapping it until you get it pretty close to your original size that it was. The purpose of this is to make all your pipes fit back together as they were designed to. This system is known as the hammer and dolly system, used in a lot of auto body work. But just keep expanding it, tapping it, and then you can loosen it and shift it a little bit, retighten it, and get some areas that you couldn't miss to cover the gap areas there. So this is a very handy little tool. Now when you're finished getting it back to size as best you can, a little die grinder with a stone, a round stone, you can go in and you can do a circular thing just to remove any burrs or any little imperfections inside that you couldn't get by hammer and dollying it. So these are kind of indispensable, along with a round stone type tool. Now the last thing I want to show you here today is a very handy tool for working on exhaust systems. How many times have you got your pipes together under the car and find you're not quite at the right angle, the pipe's drooping down a little lower than it should, or the muffler is twisted? Well, this is a wonderful tool to correct that. This is a chain type pipe wrench. You can put it on the pipe and you get all kinds of leverage to turn the pipe whatever way you need to. I've had this tool for about 30 years or more. I don't remember where I got it, what I paid for it, but I'm sure you can probably find it online. but it's a great tool for working for exhaust systems. Very easy to manipulate the pipes once they're on the car to position them so you get the perfect height. How many times have you seen cars going down the road where one pipe is drooping down lower than it should because the guy that installed it didn't have the ability to twist it into the right position? Well, with this tool, it's very easy. So that's the last thing I wanted to show you as far as tools necessary for working on exhaust. I hope you found this interesting. And I want to thank you once again for watching Rick's Garage. Before I go, I just want to say that there'll be 2 videos to the left of your screen. One will be that link to the My Lift stand that I promised you. So feel free to click on either one of those. And then to your right, feel free to click on my avatar to subscribe.